We are all guilty of irrational thoughts. It happens every single day. We tend to assume the worst possible thing will happen before we have all the information. The good news is that we can restructure our thought patterns to effectively deal with our irrational thinking habits. This will help to reduce the negative effects of things like anxiety, depression, stress, and anger. The 4 steps of restructuring our irrational thinking. 1. Make our thoughts more conscious. This entire process begins by slowing down and making our automatic thoughts more conscious. Think of this as taking an inventory of your thought library. Before we can change our thoughts, we need to be aware of how we're currently thinking without judgment or correction. Spend about a week identifying and recording all the automatic thoughts that habitually run through your mind. Keep in mind that we cannot correct our thinking if we don't first identify our problem thoughts. 2. Evaluate these automatic thoughts. After taking an inventory of your thoughts, you need to sort out the rational thoughts from the irrational ones. This process should be pretty straightforward, as the irrational thoughts are usually driven by emotion. If there is any logic for having an irrational thought, it is either flawed logic or based on false assumptions. 3. Start getting rational. Now take this list of irrational thoughts and begin evaluating them one by one. Oftentimes, you will find that they are connected and perhaps based on the same incorrect data. First, identify why these thoughts are problematic or unhealthy. Now determine if there is any truth to why a given thought invokes a negative response in your mind. There will be times when the facts about a thought are correct, the problem is how we are responding to the facts. Find the flawed logic, false assumptions, or misinterpretations that are causing you to react irrationally to a given thought. 4. Replace these irrational thoughts. Finally, we replace our distorted thoughts with more rational thoughts. Remember that our automatic thoughts are habitual, so we have to stop the process in order to correct these negative thoughts. It is amazing how our minds will distort reality. Our goal here is to replace these distortions with more rational thoughts. You need to understand that doing this successfully requires a lot of reflection and self-awareness. To help you with this process, let us look at common ways that we distort our thoughts. Mental filtering. This happens when we pick out only one negative detail of a situation and focuses only on that. Black and white thinking. This is when we cannot see any middle ground and perceives a situation as all or nothing. Overgeneralization. Overgeneralization is very common and happens when we jump to a conclusion without enough information. Catastrophizing. This way of thinking is when we think the worst outcome will occur. Personalization. When we have low self-esteem or paranoia, we tend to believe that everything people do or say is about us. Should statements. These statements come about when we compare ourselves and others to perceived universal standards. Mind reading. This can happen when we assume we know what someone else is thinking without verification. Emotional reasoning. This happens when we assume that our emotions reflect how reality actually is. Labeling. Labeling comes about when we make broad statements or generalizations about ourselves or others based on situation-specific behavior. There are countless benefits to restructuring the automatic irrational thought we have on a daily basis. Yes, it takes effort and determination, but the end result is well worth your time.